The silence in Cleveland has shattered like glass under the weight of an unstoppable truth. For months, the city's football heartbeat pulsed quietly beneath layers of rumors, backroom whispers, and cautious optimism. But no more. Jimmy Haslam, the billionaire owner of the Cleveland Browns, has made his move, and this time, it's not a subtle whisper to the front office or a hint dropped to the media. This is a declaration, carved in stone. Week 1, barring an act of God or a meteor strike, Shadore Sanders will walk into that huddle as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Not Joe Flacco, not Kenny Pickett, not Dylan Gabriel, Shadore. Period. This isn't speculation. It's not a clever leak to stir fan conversation. According to multiple sources, and confirmed by the always connected Colin Cowherd, the mandate came directly from the top floor. Haslam didn't just give his blessing for Sanders. He planted his flag on the hill, handpicking him over the objections of a coaching staff still clutching onto veteran quarterbacks like safety blankets. This wasn't a nudge, it was an order. The drama goes back to draft day. Head coach Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry had one plan: avoid Shadore Sanders. They feared the media frenzy. They feared the spotlight. They feared the expectations that follow him like a shadow. And more than anything, they feared his last name, Sanders. Because that name carries weight. It carries primetime swagger. It carries confidence that some in Cleveland's building confuse with arrogance. In their minds, Shedeur wasn't a fit for the system, so they tried to block him. On draft night, the Browns made their move, reaching for Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, 2 full rounds before Sanders was taken. The thinking was simple: take a quarterback early enough and the owner will back off. But Haslam didn't blink. When Sanders was still sitting there in the 5th round, the air in the war room shifted. Haslam wasn't going to let the front office's ego cost him a franchise-changing quarterback. He overruled them. When the card with Sanders' name was turned in, it wasn't a gamble. It was a mission. And everyone in the room knew what it meant. This wasn't a depth chart move. It was a power shift. The moment Sanders walked into the Browns facility, you could feel the unease. He wasn't supposed to matter this year. The plan was to stash him, give him a redshirt season behind Flacco, Pickett, and Gabriel. He'd be a scout team arm, a developmental project. But Shadore didn't get that memo. He arrived not like a rookie 5th rounder, but like a man who knew the starting job was already in his future. The swagger wasn't fake. The command of the huddle wasn't learned. It was already baked into his DNA. And that's exactly what Stefanski didn't want. See, the Browns have a type at quarterback. System guys, quiet workers, players who speak softly and fade into the background. Shadore is the opposite. He is bold. He is branded. He's not running from the spotlight. He's standing in it, smiling. That's uncomfortable for a staff that likes control. But control started slipping the moment Sanders took his first practice snap. From the very first OTA, he showed timing, precision, and poise well beyond his years. He dissected defenses pre-snap. He dropped throws into tight windows with veteran confidence. And suddenly, those developmental reps the coaches thought they could hide him in started looking like starting caliber snaps. The staff could pretend not to notice, but they knew. Everyone knew. Still, they tried to slow him down. More reps for Flacco, extra time for Pickett, a head start for Gabriel, because he was drafted higher. It didn't matter. Sanders took the scraps and turned them into gold. He wasn't just keeping up, he was outplaying everyone. That created a problem the coaching staff couldn't solve without admitting the truth. The rookie they didn't want was already the best quarterback on the roster. And that wasn't just inconvenient, it was dangerous to their plan. Haslam, on the other hand, loved it. Every throw, every perfectly executed drive was more proof he'd been right all along. He didn't care about protecting egos in the front office, he cared about winning football games. And when you've been an owner in Cleveland long enough, you recognize how rare it is to have a quarterback who can change the city's entire outlook. Sanders isn't just playing quarterback, he's changing Cleveland's gravitational pull. But here's the dirty truth. The reason Sanders fell to the 5th round had nothing to do with talent. It was bias. Plain and simple. NFL front offices didn't like the jewelry. They didn't like the walk. They didn't like that he carried himself like he knew something they didn't. But he does. He knows he's better. Better than the veterans ahead of him. Better than the rookies drafted before him. Better than the narrative they've tried to trap him in. The momentum in Cleveland isn't slowing. It's accelerating like a freight train that no one in the coaching staff can stop. The whispers in Berea have become conversations. The conversations have turned into debates, and now the debates are threatening to explode into open confrontation. The truth is no longer hiding in practice film or buried in depth chart notes. Shadore Sanders is the best quarterback in the Browns organization, and the man signing the checks has decided he's the future. Jimmy Haslam isn't tiptoeing this time. He isn't making suggestions to Kevin Stefanski or hinting to Andrew Berry. He's issued a directive. And when the man who owns the team draws a line in the sand, the rest of the building either falls in line or starts updating their resumes. The coaching staff, however, is caught in a trap of their own making. They wanted control. They wanted predictability. That's why they drafted Dillon Gabriel far earlier than he was projected to go. Gabriel wasn't about raw talent. He was about being manageable, safe. The kind of rookie you can mold, stash, and develop without headlines swirling. But Shadore doesn't ask for permission to be great. He shows up in the building and takes it. That's the difference. And that's what scares the staff. Because if Shedeur starts and succeeds, it will be the ultimate admission that they were wrong. And in the NFL, wrong decisions have a way of costing people their jobs. That's why you've seen them cling to Joe Flacco like a lifeline. He's the veteran security blanket, the guy they can justify starting under the guise of experience and stability. But every time Sanders steps on the practice field, that argument gets weaker. Flacco still has the arm, sure, but he doesn't have the future. And Cleveland is tired of quarterbacks who are just placeholders. They want a quarterback who can plant a flag and lead this team for the next decade. That's not Flacco, that's not Pickett, and it's certainly not Gabriel. It's Shadore Sanders. Even Andrew Berry, who tried to stay out of the quarterback politics, is shifting. Publicly, he gives the same rehearsed talking points. We're excited about our QB room. We'll let the competition play out. But the language is changing. Quietly, the front office is beginning to position Sanders not as a project, but as a legitimate contender for the starting job. That's a tectonic shift from the narrative they had in April. And make no mistake, it's not because Berry suddenly had an epiphany. It's because the results on the field have made the old narrative impossible to defend. In practice, Sanders isn't just holding his own, he's taking control. His accuracy under pressure, his poise in the pocket, his ability to see the entire field and make anticipatory throws, it's not rookie-level stuff. It's starter-level execution. And when the players in the locker room see that, they respond. That's why you're hearing veteran receivers quietly vouch for him. Why the offensive line plays with a little extra juice when he's under center. Leadership isn't given, it's taken. And Shedeur is taking it every single day. The fans have caught on too. If you've been to open practices, you've seen it. The Sanders jerseys, the handmade signs, the chants that start small and then spread like wildfire. It's not marketing, it's organic. This city, starved for hope, has found someone worth believing in. And that belief is contagious. Cleveland isn't a city that gives its heart easily. It's been burned too many times. But when it does give its heart, it gives it completely. And Sanders is on the verge of owning it. That's why the clip of him training in full Browns gear hits so hard. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a visual reminder that while the coaches debate, Sanders is already living the reality they're trying to postpone. He's not waiting for a coronation. He's already preparing to be king. And that terrifies the staff, because the more the fans see it, the harder it becomes to justify keeping him on the bench. This is the crossroads Cleveland stands at right now. On one side, Jimmy Haslam, the owner, pushing all his chips to the middle of the table on Shadore Sanders. On the other, a coaching staff trying to slow the inevitable, clinging to the comfort of veterans and the safety of the known. In between, the quarterback room is a powder keg. Every day that passes, every throw Sanders makes, the fuse burns shorter. Stefanski's situation is especially delicate. If he ignores Haslam and rolls with Flacco or Pickett, and the Browns stumble out of the gate, the backlash will be swift and merciless. Every interception, every 3 and out, every missed opportunity will be framed as a direct consequence of not starting Sanders. The chants will start in the stadium, the media will turn up the heat, and the players will feel the pressure. Stefanski won't just be fighting to keep his starting quarterback decision, he'll be fighting to keep his job.